Test 20, you will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. You will hear a woman calling a hotel to ask about arranging a celebration there. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good morning, Riverdale Hotel. Jonathan speaking. I'm the events manager.
Hello, Jonathan. This is Emma Turner. I'm planning a celebration for my grandparents' golden wedding anniversary, and I wanted to ask about hiring a hall sometime next September.
Certainly, we'd be happy to help. Will you be having a formal dinner or something more relaxed, like a buffet?
A formal meal, I think.
And approximately how many guests are you expecting?
Around 80 or so.
In that case, you have 2 choices. The Orchid Room can seat 85 guests for dinner, or more than 100 if it's a buffet event.
That sounds good.
There's also a small balcony area, suitable for a few musicians. Guests often like it because the music can fill the room nicely for dancing, but still allow people to talk comfortably.
Oh, yes, that's perfect. I don't like when it's so loud you can't hear anyone.
Exactly. Now, the Orchid Room is located at the back of the hotel and opens through large French doors onto a terrace filled with pots of roses in bloom during that season.
That sounds beautiful. Which direction does the terrace face?
It faces southwest, so it catches the afternoon and early evening sun.
Lovely.
From the terrace, you can look out over a cluster of trees on the hotel grounds. Or if you walk a little further, there's a path that goes down to the river.
That's wonderful.
Your second option would be the Regency Hall. It's slightly larger, it can hold up to 110 people, and it includes a built-in stage, which works well if you plan to have a band or any kind of entertainment.
Oh, that's convenient. Can guests go outside from that room too?
Unfortunately not. The Regency Hall is on the 1st floor, though it does overlook the lake from the window side, which gives a lovely view.
I think either would suit us, actually.
Great! We also provide a few optional extras you might be interested in.
Such as?
Well, you can hire an MC, that's a master of ceremonies, to guide the event.
What exactly do they do? Would they make a speech during the dinner, for instance?
Yes, exactly. All of our MCS are professional speakers who know how to keep guests' attention. They can make announcements, introduce performances, and they also act as your support, handling any small issues that might come up during the evening.
That sounds reassuring.
We also offer accommodation. There are regular rooms in the hotel, of course, and we have several cabins around the property, each with a living area, bathroom, and small kitchen. Ideal for small families or couples.
Perfect. That would be ideal for our relatives coming from out of town.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
I saw on your website that the hotel has quite a few facilities. Are they all included in the booking price? For example, could our guests use the swimming pool?
Normally, yes, but the pool will be closed in September for maintenance, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's fine. What about the gym?
The gym will be included, no extra charge. It's open from 6 in the morning until midnight.
That's very convenient. And the tennis courts?
We have 4 courts, and they're available for use at a small additional fee. It's best to reserve them early, as they're often in high demand.
Got it. That's helpful, thank you.
My pleasure. Now shall we go over the menu options?
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 2. You will hear a representative from a holiday company talking to a group of tourists at a hotel about activities available during their stay. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom Harris, and I'll be your holiday rep while you're staying with us. I hope you've all settled in comfortably. Let me give you an idea of what you can do while you're here. Let's start with some of our excursions. One trip that almost everyone enjoys is our dolphin cruise. The great thing is, you're almost guaranteed to spot dolphins. In the unlikely event that you don't, you can take the same trip again for free. We run these every day for €35. Unfortunately, today's trip is fully booked, but you can sign up with me for later this week if you like. If you prefer something more active, you might enjoy our forest trek. It's a guided 7-kilometer walk through beautiful woodland. Halfway along, we'll stop for a short break, and you'll be given sandwiches and a drink. The route includes a few steep hills, so it's best suited to those in decent shape. Please wear proper walking shoes and take a light rain jacket just in case. The cost is €25 and everything's included. The walk runs every Wednesday. On Thursdays, we organize a cycling tour. Perfect for those who like adventure, but not too much effort. We drive you and your bike up to the top of Mount Riva, and you simply ride back down. It's a 20-kilometer descent, dropping around 700 meters. So it's not for beginners, but you'll have incredible views if the weather's clear. For something more relaxing, try our local craft outing. You'll visit workshops where artisans make handmade jewelry and pottery. The best part? The trip is completely free. You're welcome to buy souvenirs if you wish, but there's absolutely no pressure. The tour begins after lunch on Thursday and returns around 6 p.m. If you're fascinated by astronomy, we also arrange visits to the Island Observatory every Friday. It's €90 per person, and you'll see enormous telescopes and hear a short talk from an expert explaining how they operate. Afterwards, we'll stop at Sunset Bay, where you'll have the option to go for a swim before we drive back to the hotel. Lastly, there's horse riding. run by the Riviera Stables near Playa Verde. It's suitable for both experienced riders and beginners. You'll ride along the beach, splashing through the shallow waves. It's a wonderful experience. The cost is €35, and you can join any day of the week.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
So, that's plenty to keep you busy during the day, but what can you do in the evenings? Our most popular night out is called Musical Memories. Guests enjoy a 3-course dinner with unlimited drinks, followed by an impressive show that begins in Paris, moves on to New York and Las Vegas, and ends with lively scenes from Rio de Janeiro. After the performance, the actors come down from the stage to chat and take photos with guests. It's always a sellout. So if you want to go, you'll need to book early. Don't wait until the last moment. The event takes place on Friday night, and tickets are €50. For an additional €10, you can reserve a front row table. On Saturday evening, there's the medieval banquet held in an ancient stone castle. You'll dine in the huge courtyard, where servers dressed in traditional gowns bring you platters of food. Each person receives a whole roast chicken, and you eat it the old-fashioned way, with your hands, no knives or forks. Entertainment includes contests where riders try to knock each other from their horses, and later in the ballroom, you can join the dancers if you like. Okay, so that gives you an overview of what's available. If you have any questions or want to make a booking, just come and speak to me after this.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 3. You will hear Isabella, who is thinking about joining a 1-year course in children's literature, talking to Daniel, who is already doing the course. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Daniel.
Oh, hi, Isabella. You said you wanted to ask me about the course I'm taking, the one on children's literature.
Yes, that's right. I'm considering applying for it next year, but I'd like to get a clearer idea of what it's like before deciding.
Sure. Well, it's a full-year course made up of 6 compulsory modules. You don't get to choose between them. Everyone studies the same topics. One of the most thought-provoking modules, in my opinion, was about the purpose of literature for children.
You mean whether stories should mainly entertain kids or whether they should teach them something as well?
Exactly. And it also discusses whether that teaching should be informative, giving knowledge about the world, or moral, helping children understand right and wrong. What really struck me was that many writers don't even realise the messages their stories contain. For example, a tale might show a child getting into trouble because they disobeyed an adult, which subtly suggests that adults are always right.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it like that before.
That unit actually made me appreciate how powerful stories are. They can shape how children think for years afterwards. In fact, it even encouraged me to try writing a children's story myself, just as an experiment. I know I'm not going to be the next J.K. Rowling, but I really enjoyed the process.
That's great. I've always been drawn to the artwork in children's books. Does the course include anything about illustrations?
Yes, there's an entire module devoted to the role of pictures, and how sometimes the visuals are just as crucial to the storytelling as the words.
That sounds wonderful. I can still recall some pictures from the books I read as a little girl. Some were quite scary, actually. It's amazing how deeply they can stick in your mind. I've always liked sketching, so I'm hoping to become an illustrator once I finish the course.
Then that part will be perfect for you. We also looked at comics in that module, though I'm not totally convinced they're as valuable as books. Reading text alone forces you to imagine scenes, whereas comics kind of do that work for you.
True, but nowadays children grow up surrounded by images, on television, online, and in games. Some kids might never touch a book, so I think comics can actually be a good stepping stone to get them reading something at least.
Yes, I suppose you're right. It's better than not reading at all. Though it still makes me sad that fewer children pick up real books.
Does the course discuss books written for boys and girls separately?
Yes, there's a whole topic on gender in children's stories. For a long time, especially in English literature, books assumed that boys had exciting adventures while girls stayed at home, often playing with dolls. I was really surprised to see how many books were aimed only at one gender instead of both. Of course, that reflects the culture of the time they were written.
That makes sense. It really sounds like an excellent course.
Oh, it definitely is. I've learnt so much from it.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
So, have you started reading much children's literature yourself to see if the course would suit you?
Yes, I've gone back to stories written as early as the late 17th century, though there were a few even before that.
So you must have read Perrault's fairy tales then? Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and the rest?
Of course, they're so important. Basically the first stories of that kind ever written. You could say they created an entirely new style of storytelling for children.
Right, that's impressive. What else have you looked at?
I also read The Swiss Family Robinson.
Oh, I've heard of that one, but I haven't read it.
The English title is a bit misleading, though. It makes it sound like the family's surname is Robinson, but really it should be the Swiss Robinsons, because it's about a Swiss family who get shipwrecked, just like Robinson Crusoe in an earlier novel.
Oh, I see. That's an interesting connection.
Then there's Hoffman's The Nutcracker and the Mouse King.
Isn't that the story that inspired Tchaikovsky's ballet, The Nutcracker?
Yes, exactly. It's a very strange and imaginative story.
Have you read The Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde? That's one of my absolute favourites.
Mine too. It's amazing how emotional it is, especially since Wilde is best known for his witty plays. That one really stands out among his works. I did try reading The Lord of the Rings as well, but honestly, I found it quite demanding and only got through one of the 3 volumes.
It's not an easy read, but it's extremely popular.
Definitely. Still, compared to The Happy Prince, it required a lot more concentration. Oh, and I recently read War Horse.
Isn't that the story set during the First World War? Not exactly what you'd expect for a children's book.
Exactly. The topic is unusual, but it's been a big success.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about a scientific field known as marine archaeology. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. In today's lecture, I'll be talking about marine archaeology, the branch of archaeology that explores how humans have interacted with seas, lakes, and rivers throughout history. This field focuses on the remains of ships, their cargoes, port facilities, and other traces of human activity beneath the water's surface. I'll begin with an example, and then describe how this area of research is changing thanks to new technological advances. One important discovery is a submerged village called Atlit Yam, located off the eastern Mediterranean coast. It appears to have been a lively community until around 7000 BC. The people there raised animals, caught fish, and stored their harvests. They drew fresh water from wells, and many of their stone-built houses were arranged around a central courtyard. At the heart of the settlement stood a remarkable feature, a semicircle of massive stones surrounding a spring, which may have served a ritual or symbolic function. The reason for the village's disappearance is uncertain. It could have been destroyed rapidly by a giant wave, or perhaps rising sea levels caused by melting ice slowly drowned it. Whatever happened, Atlit Yam now rests about 10 meters below the surface of the Mediterranean, covered in layers of sand. It has been described as the largest and most complete prehistoric community ever located under the sea. For archaeologists, it provides an incredible source of information. Studies of the houses, tools, and even human skeletons have revealed much about daily life in the settlement, as well as the illnesses that affected its residents. Yet this is only one site, a single glimpse into a long-forgotten world. To build a broader picture, researchers must locate more underwater remains. However, that is the truly challenging part. In the past, such exploration relied heavily on divers, who physically searched for wrecks or artifacts. But during the latter half of the 20th century, engineers began creating different kinds of underwater vehicles, some controlled remotely from the surface, and others completely autonomous, meaning they can operate on their own. These autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVS, are widely used in the oil industry, for example, to produce detailed maps of the seabed before drilling rigs or pipelines are placed. To find their way, they use instruments like sonar and compasses. Until fairly recently, they were very costly and extremely heavy, requiring large ships with cranes to lower them into the sea. Modern versions, however, are far easier to handle. They can be launched from small boats or even from the shoreline, and their lower price means many more research teams can afford them. They are also far more advanced. A UVS can communicate with one another, plan the most efficient ways to scan an area, and locate specific items on the seabed. Field trials have already shown how effective this can be. In 2015, for instance, 3 AUVs were tested off the coast of Sicily near Marzamemi. There they examined the site of a Roman vessel that sank in the 6th century AD, while transporting prefabricated marble pieces for building an early church. The AUVS mapped the site in great detail and even identified other ships carrying similar stone columns. Creating an underwater communication network for AUVS is complex. On land, Wi-Fi systems rely on electromagnetic waves, but these travel only a few centimeters in water. Therefore, researchers must use a combination of methods. For short-range data transfer, AUVS employ light signals, while acoustic waves are used for longer distances. Other creative systems are also being tested. For example, one AUV collecting information on the seabed can pass its data to another AUV nearby. That second vehicle can then rise to the surface and transmit the information via satellite to the scientists on shore. In addition, AUVS can share details from their sonar scans, so if one detects something interesting, it can send the coordinates to another AUV equipped with a higher quality camera, which can then move in for closer inspection. Marine archaeologists are enthusiastic about how much this technology could revolutionize their work. One area where AUVS will soon be used is the Gulf of Baratti along the Italian coast. Here, in 1974, researchers discovered a Roman ship that had been lying in about 18 meters of water for 2,000 years. It had been carrying medical supplies stored in wooden and tin containers. From this cargo, scientists learned about ancient treatments, including tablets thought to dissolve into a cleansing solution for the eyes. Nearby, several other Roman vessels also sank, taking with them loads of large terracotta jars. Some of these ships had been used to carry olive oil, while others transported wine. In many cases, only the containers remain intact, since the wooden parts of the ships have long since been buried beneath layers of mud and silt on the seabed. That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.